Ubazeh yuvan ma shamru razal, and with this we can understand what our sages said. Al pasuk v'atorah v'hamitzvah asher kasavti lehorosam, on the Torah and the mitzvah that I wrote to teach them. Suf Parshas Mishpatim Chaf Daled Yud Beis. Now I know the Rambam says that the Torah is the Ksav and the Torah Shebechsav and the mitzvahs of the Torah Shebal Peh. But let's see what he says here. Mevuar b'Zohar Chel Gimel Parshas Shmini Daf Mem Amud Beis Lo Harasam Ksiv, that it says it's written without vavs, which is the word laharasam, to give birth to them. Ksiv lashon heryon ve'ibur. It's a language of pregnancy, impregnation, and pregnancy. Because all the Torah and the mitzvahs became impregnated within the souls of Israel, like a fetus in the womb of its mother. Al derech mashal mitamanal, for example, like for the reason that we explained before, shegiloi or ha'eloki shebetorah mitzvos, that the revelation of the godly light in Torah mitzvos niskabel kulo b'neshamas Yisrael was completely received in the souls of Israel. K'mashal ha'isha shemikabeles hashafa be'atzmusa, like the woman that receives the flow in her essence. And so the pasuk is Asher Kasavti, the Torah and the mitzvah that I wrote lehorosam, to impregnate them with. Mitzad atzma, and on her own, in laklum, she doesn't have anything. She cannot have a child on her own. And this is like the Torah, the words that I placed in your mouth without Hashem placing it, so to speak. We don't have it on our own. The words of the Torah. V'chein, so too. Lamanti Torah savaya beficha ukiyotz. In order, and a similar pasuk is that in order so that the Torah of Hashem should be in your mouth and the like. Hagah. Now, comment on this. So and this is the reason that sanctifying the moon is called the secret of the pregnancy. That the pregnant, so to speak, the filling of the moon is called a pregnancy. That the secret, the understanding, the calculations for this was given over to those who had smicha by the Chachamim, so the teaching of the Torah is again compared to the concept of a pregnancy. That the Sod HaIbur is a specific teaching of Torah that was given over, just like the receiving and creation of fetus in the womb. Ayin Baharamban Parshas Achre bePerek Arayos Izkir Gamken, Parshas Arayos Izkir Gamken Inyan Soda Ibur. The Ramban also hints to this idea that it's a secret of the pregnancy. That this is the concept of that which the moon receives from the sun. That that's the concept of impregnation. Lehorosam, without vavs. Spelled leharasam. Vayin mashikaz b'torah or parshas shemos b'dibur hamaschil abayim yashleish binyan isha yirasavai he sees halal. What it says in Torah or about the woman who fears heaven, she's the one who's praised. From there you can understand this concept. Shah mitzvos nikra or zarua. That the mitzvahs are called the light that is sown b'neshamas Yisrael, in the souls of Israel. Hanikras isha yiras havaya, that's called the woman that fears Hashem. So the souls of Israel are the woman that fears Hashem, and he sees halal. She is sown within her is the light that's sown into the souls of Israel, and that's the concept of the impregnation on ad kanaga. That's the end of that comment. And also all the laws and the judgments in the oral Torah. First Moshe received them all inside of himself. And afterwards he gave it over to Yoshua. Yeshua gave it to the elders, and the elders to the prophets, till the last Tanaim and the Amoraim that we received from them. And when we repeat and learn their words, so we ourselves are also receiving truly the word of Hashem, Shekibel Moshe Bahar Kidur, that Moshe received on the mountain as is known. So we are also this concept of impregnation from the words of Hashem, of the Torah. And the proof to all this, that we see in a number of the physical mitzvos, that we do below, that the Torah calls them the mitzvos of Hashem mamash, that it says you should also do it, meaning to say truma savaya, the truma that Hashem does, the truma of Hashem. So the Torah calls that which we give over to the Kohanim, the truma, Hashem's truma. It's His. We also should do it. Mamash v'chein b'korbanos anasos lamata. So to the korbanos that we do below, Omer is korbani lachmi chulu. It says my korban, my bread. That it says v'chein ksiv korban havaya ukiyotz b'zeh. So too it says the korban of Hashem, meaning to say that it's His, and we also do it. Hagav ayin mashakaz meaning truma savai b'torah or parshas vayakel b'dibur hamaschil kumitchem truma umashakaz b'dibur hamaschil. Look what it says. Take from yourself truma, and look what it says. Giata neri b'dibur hamaschil giata neri, and that you are my candle b'pirashar mimcha elokayam melech, and explaining that I will lift you up. Elokai, my king, the king. Kitzer, v'zeu asher kosafti lohorosam. So this is what it means that I wrote it in order to teach them, to direct them. But it also lashon heryon ve'ibur, it's from the language of impregnation and pregnancy. Yaga, and a comment on this. Kitzer, shekamo shalavana mekabelas mehaor me'ashemesh. That's just like the moon receives its light from the sun. V'nikra heryon v'leda, and that's called impregnation and birth of the moon. K'moshikasu b'mishnah perik beis de Rosh Hashanah he'ich me'idim al isha sheyolda u'lamachar kresa ben shinea. How do we give a testimony on a woman that gave birth, and the next day her stomach's between her teeth, so to speak? So too the souls of Israel receive this sowing of the light of Torah mitzvos, mitzvos havaya, that are called the mitzvos of Hashem, and in them and through them is born and drawn out the revelation of light, dugmas leda, that's compared to giving birth. What it says in those memorim about the concept of the grasping and gathering in of the flow from above. Mizeh yuvan dema shemonin lalivana. With this you can understand that we count according to the moon. Yesh b'zemayle yisera mema shemonin lechama. There's a greatness to this, greater than that which those who count the calendar according to the sun. That was the question in Havamina, that Moshe was Pnei Chama. in the beginning of the Maamar Sharizeh Shemoni Lalavana, that we count from according to the moon. Naaseh Yichud Shimsha V'Sira, this causes the union of the sun and the moon. Uke'inyan Hiryon V'Leda, like the concept of impregnation and birth. V'Yichud Zeu Shenimshach Matzmius HaShemesh, and this union, like we said, comes from the essence of the sun, the internal flow, not the external. V'Zeu Ki Shemesh U'Magin Havaya Elokim, that's why it says that a sun and its sheath are Hashem and Elokim, that the inner concept is the sun and the sheath, the shield, is the external. That's the concept of Elokim. Ein bepardis erech magin. And that's not the case with those that count in accordance with the sun. That's only an external glimmer of this, where there's not actually giving pregnancy and birth. Dugmas, chesed v'gvura yeshinika, and that this is similar to how from chesed and gvura there's a nurturance to the klipa. Mash'enke mitiferes, which is not the case with the sphere below them. Tiferes, there's no unika from it. But why kavem tzoi? Because it's the middle line, Shabo Meir Shefa Ma'arichan Pin, that in the middle, the line of Sphiros, shines the flow from the Ksarim, the flow from Arichan Pin, directly into Tiferes. And similarly is the concept of only the external, a flow of Ziranpin, which are the 6 sides that shine on the weekdays. And the inner concept of Ziranpin, which is the day of Shabbos, so the external concept of Zah shines during the week, and the inner concept of Zah shines during Shabbos. Like it says in Siddur, that there's 3 that are holy. That it says these are the offspring of Noach. These nullify the first ones. That Noach is the concept of Shabbos, and when you get to Shabbos, it nullifies the beginning because it's a much higher light. Because on Shabbos shines the inner flow, that the river flows out of Eden to water. The inner gate of the Mikdash is open on Shabbos. That it's usually closed, and on Shabbos it opens. So it says, and it also is open on the Rosh Chodesh. So it's explained, it's not just Shabbos, that the inner concept of the sun, but it's also the concept of the moon, that on the day of the moon, renewing it also opens. So we see also then you get the inner flow. So that itself implies this pasuk, that the inner gate opens both on Shabbos and on the Chodesh, that the moon receives on Rosh Chodesh an inner flow of the sun. Just like it receives on Shabbos, Shemesh Tzedakah, the charity of the sun. That our sages said, Shemesh b'Shabbos Tzedakah lanim, that the Shemesh, the sun shining on Shabbos, is a charity to the poor. Meaning to say it's a concept of flow downwards until the impoverished, or the concept of also the souls of Israel and the moon, and the concept of Malchus, the Leis Lami Garma Klum. Ad Kanaga, that's the end of the comment in the Kitzur.